the European Union is essentially involved, but it's NATO, and we're supplying weapons to NATO. NATO's now paying because the United States, because of Biden's in for $350 billion, the European nations are in for about $100 billion. Should be the opposite way, by the way, because we have a big ocean in between. Should be the opposite way. But I think that eventually something's going to happen. It should happen fast. So many people are dying. You know, when I settled out with Congo and Rwanda, they lost almost 8 million people. And it just made so much sense. And if I didn't get involved, they wouldn't have done it. They weren't even thinking about settling it. It was just going on forever. And nobody could go into those territories because they'd get killed. They'd get killed. And now they have I hear it's a whole different ballgame. We settled it. This is one that should be settled. Russia, Ukraine. This is one that really should be settled.
Mr. President, Scotland's First Minister has today set out his plans for a second referendum on Scottish independence. Can I get your reaction to that as someone with deep ties to Scotland? Prime Minister, can I also get your thoughts on that? If the SNP do win a majority in next year's election, then they have the right to hold the referendum, you know?
Well, I don't want to get involved in your politics. We got enough politics of our own. I will say that I predicted what was going to happen the last time. You remember? I was opening the first course over at Aberdeen, and I was over here, and at the same time, and they asked me that question. I made a prediction. It was the day before the vote, and I made it correct. I like to be correct, but I made a correct prediction. I don't know. I do say that when they made that deal, somebody said that it was, and I remember this very distinctly. I said, could they do this all the time? There was a little bit of a restriction, like 50 or 75 years before you could take another vote. Because, you know, a country can't go through that too much. I don't know the First Minister, but I've heard great things about him. I've spoken to him. I hear very good things about him, and I'm meeting him today. So maybe I'll have a better opinion then.
And let me answer that straightforwardly, because I believe in a stronger Scotland, in a better United Kingdom. And I think that at a time like this, when it's quite clear that there's uncertainty and volatility around the world, the strength of the United Kingdom together is very important for all four nations, very important for Scotland. And that should be our priority, that should be our focus, not on the politics, which feels like the politics of yesteryear now, at a time like this. And I think that the First Minister should probably focus more on his delivery in Scotland than on his constitutional issues, and we might have a better health service in Scotland. But at a time like this, I think the United Kingdom is always stronger as four nations. I think that's better for all four nations. I think that's how Scotland is stronger. Look at the deal that we've been able to do with the United States, a really important deal that we made just months ago. That is what the United Kingdom can do when we act as a powerful set of four nations together, and there are very many other examples.
Mr. President, you toured the Federal Reserve last week. And
I did.
Set to meet this week. Do you think your visit has inspired a potential rate cut, or how do you see things shaping out?
Well, it's interesting. I did tour it. I toured the building. And if you looked at this building, if you came here like 14, 15 years ago, we've had it a long time. It's been an honor to have Turnberry. But I was on much more opulent walls, ceilings, floors. We had to do this. And we did a very great job. I mean, you see how beautiful it is inside. Everything was saved. Everything was preserved. We had ceilings that were in bad shape. They were falling down. You know, it's very old. Wasn't properly maintained. Now it's brand new and beautiful. And we saved everything. If you really think here, you took a look and you were sort of commenting to coloring now this is a brand new building, but if you look outside, it's equally opulent and beautiful. And we didn't do that by spending, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in surrounding a railing underneath a area that you're painting. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Brand new, beautiful plywood, very expensive, wrapped around a figurine or a railing to preserve it. But you don't have to do that. You can just wrap a cloth, they call it a blanket, and you don't even have to do that if you're careful when you're doing the ceiling. But I don't know what they did. They'd take down a ceiling and put up a new ceiling, and the new ceiling had no opulence to it. Or they'd fix the ceiling. But I would say that all I need is a good plaster and a can of paint. And, you know, they spent $3.9 billion. And I spent a lot of money, too, but it's I'd say 3.8 billion less, you know, meaning I spent probably $100 million making this place incredible.
And you were saying a lot of that was local trades.
I used local
we were
trades.
looking at the windows, I think, in the next room.
I had local trades do a lot of this. We have the most opulent windows next door, and I had a choice. Do I take them out? And, you know, they've suffered through 125 years of storms. You have very big storms in this area. When you have a storm, you have a storm.
We do it properly.
And they made it, barely, but they were in bad shape. So I had some local people come up, and we looked at them. You have some great craftsmen here, I think is what you're getting at. And they said, sir, honestly, they've had it. We can copy it and do it much better. And they did. If you take a look at the windows in the various dining rooms, they're magnificent. And they're new, and they're much better looking than what was there. Same exact look, other than a much higher quality. And they're local people. I used a lot of your local people. You have really great local tradesmen here, yes?
But do you foresee a rate cut this week? Do you expect
A rate cut?
Yeah,
Meaning a tax cut?
No. Do you expect the Fed to cut rates this week?
Oh, I think he has to. You had 11 cuts, you know? In Europe, they had 11 cuts. In other places, they had 10 or 11 cuts. And we had none, but I'm not going to say anything bad. You know, we're doing so well, even without the rate cut. With the rate cut, it would be better. It affects our housing a little bit. Look, we should be 3 points lower. Each point is $360 billion. Can you imagine that? That's big numbers. Each point, 1 point of cut, is the equivalent of $360 billion in savings. That's big stuff, you know. Those are big numbers in the U.S. Everything's big. He should cut. A smart person would cut. You know, he leaves very soon, so it's like one of those things. But I'll miss him greatly. I'll miss him.
Turnberry, if I may, have you or will you enlist the Prime Minister in your effort to bring the open back to Turnberry? And Prime Minister, you described this beautiful course. Do you agree with the President that it's time to bring the open back to Turnberry?
Well, as you know, that's not a matter directly for me. That's for the sporting authorities. But look, I mean, it is the first time I've been here. It's absolutely magnificent, both inside and out, and looking at the courses itself and the building. It's incredible. But the decision on